skills are emphasized equally, and this allows you to include prior work experience as well as your functional and transferable skills. Now, contact information is something you want to keep in your resume. You want to put this at the top. This is one area of the resume where you can show a little bit of creativity, but remember to keep it easy to read. Make sure your email and your voicemail are professional. You don't want anything crazy or something that'll get the employer to turn away. After that, you want to have your education in there, and if you have a degree, you worked hard for it, so now's the time if you want to show it off. You want to start with the degree you're currently working toward or have earned most recently, and this section can include accurate degree and title on your major and minor. Then you want to talk about your experience, also known as work experience, professional experience, relative experience, or sales experience, or anything like that description. It's not necessary to include all of your work history, only the most relative positions. Additional sections you may want to include are, you want to add to your resume so that your employer can see all of your qualifications. You want to include awards, maybe certifications, leadership experience, and language skills. Your appearance, the overall appearance of your resume is very important. A sloppy looking resume greatly lessens your chance of getting the job, and the first thing an employer notices when evaluating your resume is the appearance of it. So you want to make sure the appearance looks really good. When it comes to appearance, there's a thing called white space, or it's also known as open space in your resume. Most people don't realize this has an effect on your resume's appearance, but it does. White space is an attention getter, and it most commonly refers to the margins. You want to have the 1-inch margins. A resume that lacks 1-inch margins is harder to read for the reader to pursue and may look cluttered. Bullet points are another thing, typically used to emphasize skills and accomplishments. Bullets make it easier for the employer to scan your resume quickly because bullets they're intended to grab the reader's attention. Next, you want to cut out all the fluff. You want your resume to appear clear and concise. Almost all people applying to jobs know how to use the Microsoft Office and email, so there's no need for a technical skills section. Also, another thing that clutters up your resume is references upon request. If an employer wants your references, they'll just ask for them. Font, this can be very important in the appearance of your resume. You want to keep your font and your font sizes consistent throughout your resume. No more than 2 fonts should appear on one resume, and if you don't have an eye for good designs, just stick to one font. Also consider using similar headings if you use more than one page. Bold, italics, and underlines are also very important. It's okay to use some bolding and italicizing in your resume text. Many resume writers may bold their previous job titles and italicize subheadings within each section. However, when it comes to underlining, it's best if you don't include any underlining. Studies have shown that readers find underlined text difficult to read. Page length is usually determined by your relevant experience and the industry that you are submitting your resume to. For example, education and health usually require 2 pages. But however, most new graduates only have enough relevant information for 1 page. If you're tempted to go for a 2nd page, make sure you have enough information to justify the 2nd page. And when it comes to a templates this day and age are very easy to find online. And if you're going to use a template, ensure that all the fields are filled out. I work at Lucio's Bakery, and I've had a chance to read over resumes. We've actually received a resume that says, insert job description here. You can tell he used the template and just didn't fill it all out. Spell check and proofreading. This comes in with the last thing I talked about. Spell check is great, but it doesn't catch all of the mistakes. So make sure you proofread and look for consistent formatting. It's also great if you have somebody else read over it for you. In case you missed anything, you have another eye to look at it. Printing and paper. When it comes to printing, you should use a laser or inkjet printer. And for professional, technical, managerial, and executive jobs, you should use quality stock paper. For lower level positions, stick to plain white, off-white, or eggshell, or even the palest of gray colors to make sure you print on one side only. Lastly, for many applicants, sending your resume electronically is becoming more customary. When submitting a resume through email or other electronic format, send it as a PDF file so that your resume looks how you intend it to look when the file is opened. And next I'm going to turn it over to Alexis with cover letter tips.
So when applying for a job, there's a constant thing after you get your resume, you have to do a cover letter. So the first question is what is a cover letter? A cover letter is a one-page professional business letter that serves as an introduction to a potential employer. It explains your interest in the position and how your experience is relevant to the job opening. Your cover letter should be modified for each position in which you are applying for. So if you're applying for 10 different jobs, you should have 10 different cover letters just so it gets right to the point. The next thing is the next basic rules. So the first thing you want to do is personalize your letter, research the company, sell yourself, and don't forget the technical aspects. First we have personalize your letter. Make sure you use the name or title on the inside, address, and salutation, other than dear Miss, Sir, Madam, different things like that. Make sure that you personalize it to yourself. Make sure that you're also trying to stay professional with it because that's things that they do look at since it is the first thing that they look at. Next is to make sure you research the company. Show an interest in the organization. While looking at your resume and different things like that, they want to make sure that you have a little bit of background on the company because it's really important for a job when you're trying to apply for it. And make sure you just draw a parallel line between the organization and your skills or interests. Next would be sell yourself. So make sure you emphasize special things like your achievements or specific skills, and do not repeat what's on your resume. You want to make sure you kind of make them two different things because it is the first thing that they see. And if you're constantly repeating yourself, sometimes it can backfire because it seems that you're just more of the fluff that's coming with the rest of your resume. And lastly, don't forget your technical aspects. Make sure you're spelling, make sure you're proofreading, and make sure with the paper and different things like that, that everything is in the same aspect that you are with your resume. So if you use one kind of paper for your resume, make sure you're also using it for your cover letter. Remember, again, your cover letter is the first impression that they see, so make sure you're looking at different things like that. So first, you jump into your cover letter. What is the first thing? It's the first thing that you see, and it should include a header, a salutation, an introduction, a body, a closing, and the closing also comes with your signature. Make sure that you keep with all of this stuff because it's really important. Like again, it is the first thing that they see. So something like this would be a perfect header. It has a contact, it has his name, the address, a telephone number, cell phone number, and an email. Sometimes it's good that he used the botmail.com because it's not your own email. Sometimes if you do use that and you're searching for jobs, it can kind of backfire because you're not checking it a lot. Next is a salutation. So you want to make sure that you include the appropriate personal title. So something like Dear Mrs. Smith would be good. And if unsure the contact's gender, make sure you write out the full name of the person. Something like Dear Hiring Manager is also good because it's unknown and anything could kind of use it. The next thing would be the introduction. So you want to kind of state what position you're applying for, and you include any job posting number or related identifier where you found the posting for the office that it is for. So that is good just to keep up with different things. So just a kind of a brief statement of who you are. Next is the body. So the body is the 1 to 2 paragraphs, and it highlights the key aspects of your educational experience and your accomplishments from your resume. And explain how your educational experience is relevant to that of the position that you're applying for. Do not copy everything right from your resume. And then lastly is the closing. So the closing is going to be about 1 paragraph, and you're going to provide the employer again with the phone number and different things that you need. Here it's good that he ended it with sincerely yours, and thank you for your time of consideration, because it's extremely important to thank them because they didn't have to look at your cover letter at the first place, so by thanking them it kind of sets you above the rest. Next is some resume writing tips, and your resume should be updated for every new position you hold or for every new educational opportunity you obtained. So the first thing is to list your major job duties performed for each title in the order of importance. So different things like that would come in. So you're at your own university and you get your first degree, and from there you have an internship, and say that's your sophomore year. By the time you jump to the next thing, you might have 4 different internships, so you want to make sure that you put that in between everything, and make sure if you're working, that is also inside of all of there. Next, you want to include the month and title for each year of your position. So a good thing to make sure you check is that your dates are right. So if you are very confused about a date, make sure you contact your school if you have any questions. And that is just because sometimes if they check back and it's wrong, they'll think that other things on your resume and cover letter are wrong. Next is to always list your official title. If you have a functioning title, list it after your certain title. So I looked up some examples, and one would be a family service specialist. That would go first before a research development specialist, because each title separately, even though they're held on probational intern basis, they still go after each other. Next, for education, you just want to make sure you specifically get to your degree title with your major and institution. So something like that would be the Bachelor of Arts in Social Work, just say from Rowan University, Glassboro, New Jersey, and the date. And if you don't have a degree yet, make sure you list how many credits you have. It's very important to both include your month and year of college. Without the month, you want to receive proper credit. So an incorrect example would be from 2009 to 2010. That's only counted for 2 months. It's better to say just December of 2009 to January of 2010 because no months are provided. Another thing that you really want to check out is your checklist. So make sure your cover letters, your first impression, make sure that looks good. The appearance of it, the resume sections, your career goal, your accomplishments, and everything following that, because everything with that is all reflected within one. And so here are 2 different cover letters. This clearly is a bad one. It's someone you can tell wrote on a piece of paper. They didn't really, they crossed things out. It's not very good. The one on the right's really good. It has his name perfectly at the top. Dates, numbers, Dear Human Resources Director, so it's actually going directly to someone. And next is Alyssa, and she'll be talking about resume mistakes.
Hey guys, my name's Alyssa, and today I'm going to be presenting the most common resume mistakes. According to Monster and Salary.com, these are the most common mistakes that hiring managers notice. The first mistake is grammatical errors. Make sure that there are no misspelled or words or grammatical errors on your resume. This mistake will have most, if not all, employers assuming that the person applying cannot write. It is important to proofread and then have someone else proofread your resume as well. Lack of specifics. Employers need to understand exactly what you did in the past. An example of this is if I was applying to work at a shoe company. I could either say I sold sneakers for a profitable company, or I could say I sold 900 sneakers with the highest sales in the department. It is important when sending out your resume to make sure it's specific to the company you are applying for. Using the same resume will be obvious to the employer. Employers want your resume to specifically fit their organization. Make sure you highlight your accomplishments and not your job duties. Employers don't care so much about what you've done, but rather what you accomplished in every activity. For example, I could either say I worked in a senior living facility, or I could say I created a daily schedule for seniors which included different weekly activities. Too long or too short. It is important to never exceed 2 pages, but it's okay to have 1 page. It is the content of the resume that matters, so if you can only fill 1 page, that is okay, because it's better to keep it clear and concise. It is important to include keywords in order for hiring managers to notice your resume, especially if you are submitting a resume online. Some companies use technology that searches for certain keywords and key phrases. Action verbs. Here are some examples of some action verbs that you can use on your resume. Action verbs are very important to help your resume stand out. Avoid using phrases like responsible for, and instead, here are some examples of action verbs that you can use. For example, I could use the word improved, and I could say I improved a membership database, which increased registration by 30%. Not including important information could backfire on getting an interview. For example, what I mean by important information is if you were a cashier at Wawa, it might not seem like important information to put down on your resume, but the soft skills you learned at Wawa could help you in later jobs. having incorrect contact info. This can literally not get you an interview. Make sure that you always double check and triple check the phone numbers and email addresses